Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. So the great thing about street photography is that you don't need fancy gear or an expensive studio. You just need a pair of boots and a camera to shoot with, and then you're ready to go and shoot some street photography. Today I'm excited to share my top 10 tips for capturing dynamic street photography. So whether you are a seasoned pro or just starting out, these tips I hope will help you take your street photography to the next level. So let's get on with it. So one of the best ways to create dynamic street photography is to pay attention to the lighting and shadows around you. Look for interesting shadows, reflections, sunbeams coming into the scene, which creates contrast that will add depth or texture to your photo. Pay attention to the background. Of course, this is not always in your hand. And of course, I don't mean that you should decide on which background you want to use, because this is not an option, but I mean that you should pay largely attention to what is in the background of your frame. Look for interesting architecture or street art that you can include that would add texture or interest for your shot, and also make sure to try to leave out elements that will not make your photo pleasing, or remove these in post. For instance, like a sign that is distracting your image from the main subject. One of the easiest ways to create a dynamic and unique street look is to go lower to the ground. This can make even the most mundane scenes look more interesting and compelling. So try to take your camera and get down and shoot from below. You can also go from above and shoot down. Leading lines are a very powerful tool in street photography as well, because this is a way you can intentionally frame the scene in a way you want it to make your viewer's eyes go in a certain direction. So look for lines like a street itself, sidewalks, or even buildings that will help you lead your viewer's eyes towards the subject of your shot. So sometimes the best shots happen when you least expect them. So a thing I like to do, especially when I'm crossing pedestrian walkovers, I don't know what these are called, is to shoot from the hip. So basically what I do is just holding the camera close to me, and when I go by the people, I just shoot some shots away. And of course I rely on the camera to pull the focus, but in most situations you will get at least a couple of interesting shots this way. These elements of surprise can sometimes add some sort of interest to your photos. So street photography is all about capturing the life around you and what's going on. So don't be afraid to capture movement and action in your photos. This can add a sense of energy and dynamic to the shot, and it's another way to mix up your street photography shots. So this is actually pretty simple, but wait for the right moment. Street photography requires a lot of patience, because sometimes you can have a really nice frame, but you're missing a subject to walk by, or you want somebody to leave the frame before you take your shot. So you need to wait this out, and you need to be patient. It can also be by observing some people and waiting for the right gestures or expressions before taking the shot. For instance, somebody talking on the street, you might want to wait for them to have a smile on their face or another expression. Or this example here, where I actually did not wait enough. I saw this guy smoking, and I could see the smoke coming up, and it looked really nice. And this shot would have been even more interesting if I had the smoke coming up here on the right of the guy. So one of the biggest mistakes in street photography is not getting close enough to your subject, I think. Don't be afraid to get up close and personal and capture emotion and make the scene unique and show the viewer what is going on. Because capturing these details is what is making your subject unique. So it will greatly improve on your photos if you do this. And of course this can be a challenge. Sometimes you just need a longer focal length, because this will help you get closer without getting closer. And other times you just need simply to ask the people if you can take the photo. So if you're not getting weird looks from strangers, then you're not doing this right. This leads to the next point, and that is that street photography is as much about the people as it is about the environment. So don't be afraid to talk to strangers. Don't be afraid to ask somebody if you can take the photo. And if you're a tourist or not used to being somewhere, talking to people can also sometimes help you get better ideas of what you should capture. Can sometimes help you get unique perspectives and insight on what is going on around you hero in the street scene. Finally, this is really cheeky, but it is definitely true. The last and perhaps the most important tip is to practice, practice, and practice. And I know this sounds like really duh, but I see a lot of people that want to do street photography, but they never go out and use their camera, and then they will never be better at this. And eventually when they go out without having touched the cameras for 2 years, they snap like 10 photos and they look at the camera and they think, whoa, this is not really good. And then they just go back and leave the camera on the shelf, and yeah, then they are nowhere. You should always go out and practice this as much as you can. Practice composition, practice using the settings, simply just practice what you are doing with the camera out in the situations that you want to capture. And that is for my top 10 tips for getting better at capturing dynamic street photography. I hope you found this helpful, and I can't wait to see the photos that you capture using some of these tips. So please make sure to tag me on your social profiles. Remember, the best camera is the one you have with you, but of course it helps if it's not a potato. As always, thanks for watching, and I will see you around in the next video.